Good morning, everybody. It's me, Paddy from across the shop, and I'm back at with another video. And this is the Monday Masterclass. And as always, I am not a master of any class. It was just the right word I could find, the best word I could find to put in there. But what I'm going to talk about today is things that you often hear talked about, but maybe if you're just around, they throw you a bit. You get a bit confused about why they're doing it and why they're trying to find out. And this is my interpretation of that. So I'm going to put the initial thoughts of the video was Erica over at Not Your Average EDC. I'll put her name down below. Go check out her channel. Great channel, good content. And she's a Sebenza lover. And this is my Grail Sebenza, which I got this year. I've had one before, which was the in Cozy, but this is the 31, the small 31, and it's in, what's that wood? Box elder. Beautiful box elder wood. Absolutely stunning. And it's S35VN. So I know a lot of people say that Chris Reeves on his S35VN soft, and yeah, maybe he does, but to be honest with you, for my EDC, this is proven to be, I have to say, some of the best 35VN that I have in my collection. And the reason I can tell that is because I've used it and then sharpened it, and it's absolutely fine for anything I'm ever going to want to do. But what I done with these three knives, I tried to take the edge down. I took the angle of the edge down to make it a more keen, sharp and slicey knife, because as an EDC user, I slice. Most of the things I slice or open up boxes. I'm doing that slicing movement. I'm not doing a lot of digging, not doing a lot of heavy cuts, but I use EDC cuts, which is mostly slicing. So I just wanted to see. Erica had done it on hers. I don't know whether she'd done it in the S35VN, maybe she had, but I know she'd done it in the S45VN. She said she had great results in the knife. So I decided I would do it in my S35VN. And Erica, I have to say you're right. The performance of this knife is just phenomenal. I love the cutting edge now. It's a joy to use. Not that it was bad in the first place, but a really keen edge does excite me more than it possibly should. But what I done is I took this edge back. I used a fixed angle sharpener for this one to get that initial just beautiful first edge. Because from now on, once I do that, get that fixed edge, I'll hand sharpen. You can see now the edge, the shiny part of the edge, if you like. It's a bit thicker than what it would normally come from Chris Reeves. And I took it down to 15 degrees. So the edge is at 15 degrees. That means the angle, this is the edge here. The angle was maybe say 20 degrees, and I have brought it down to 15, which is a shallower edge, makes it slicier. I know I'm probably teaching you to suck eggs, but bear with me. So I took it down there, and it's, honestly, it is just, I'm not going to cut paper because it's just so good. It doesn't, oh, well, I probably will then. But it is absolutely like a razor's edge. It just cuts through absolutely perfectly. And I'm really pleased with it in all use in cardboard tests. And it held up. The wear resistance is pretty good. Anything I'm going to do, this is going to hang on to. But I actually love it. And even with that thicker sort of I can't think what this is called, this bevel here. The Sharpie bit and the polished bit looks a little bit bigger. I have really lost it. It really looks a little bit bigger than what it was, but it's still, it looks well. It looks well. And it's got a hollow grind. For a slicing knife, I really do love the hollow grind. I think it is beautiful. Maybe in cardboard it might stick a wee bit because you've got to get up over this fatter part at the back here because of that hollow grind. But behind the edge on a hollow grind is amazing, and it means you're sharpening. You get a much better behind the edge angle. It keeps thinner for longer with a bevel. It really does. And that is the two things I want to talk about. This is the angle of your edge, and behind the edge lets you know how thick the blade is behind here, because you're going to sharpen up the way. And when you've got just a normal flat grind, it just comes out like a V, a straight V. It'll come out and it'll get thicker as it comes up. But when you get the hollow grind, that thickness is not completely, well, no, it's not completely usually. It's not completely flat all the way back, but the degree in which it widens out, which is going to affect the the sharpness of things going through your knife, gets thicker as it comes up here. The hollow grind holds that off for a long while, nearly up to about here. There's not that much difference between here and right behind the edge here. So that's the behind the edge of a knife, and you're doing that to see just what it's like. Just what it's like behind the edge. So this is the edge bevel here, and this is at 15 degrees. So this has gone back up the way 15 degrees, and then it just continues back in when you're sharpening. But I have to say, I didn't notice the edge retention seems to be as good, at least, as what it was. I don't notice any difference whatsoever. But it is much slicier, and I do notice it. And do you have to do this? No, because the edge it was with, it was pretty good anyway. And probably if I was going to do harder use, I wouldn't maybe want it down at 15 degrees. Maybe it's better having it at 20. So it's what you want to do. I just like mine slicey. I've got big thick blades that if I want to do heavy work, I'll pick one of them. I'm never that far away from the house or the caravan. I also done my Jack Wolf knives. This is the gunstock pattern. Oh, look at that. The Midnight Jack, an absolute beauty. Is it midnight? Yeah, I think it's midnight. This is gorgeous, and it's got a real deep hollow grind, and behind the edge, this is so thin behind the edge. And I dropped this angle too. You can see it's a bit deeper than what it would have come. There you go. You can see how there's light hitting it there. It's a bit more of an angle because I think it's probably around 15, 16 degrees. This one wasn't as steep as the Chris Reeves. This was already thin. And with it being so thin behind the edge, you can sharpen right up to there. No problem. Without having to worry too much about losing that sliciness. And that's a hell of a thing. Will I ever get back there? Probably not. But I just wanted to see how slicey. That's an S30V. This is an M390. And honestly, again, it's just like an absolute razor blade. Cuts beautifully. And it makes me feel good. I enjoy it rather than I need it, if that makes any sense. But I also done the tactile turn, which is an incredibly thin knife to start with. It's a flat grind, but obviously it's very thin, a very high grind, saber grind. They're very high. And I took this down to 15, and you can see the difference in this one because it was such a thin knife. It came down quite a ways. That's at 15 degrees. And again, just performs outstandingly. So this is the edge is taken down to 15 degrees, and then behind the edge, you're trying to measure. Well, when you go exactly behind there, it should be 15. But when you want to measure back the way, that's where you go back this way and see where it goes. So this is the behind the edge, which will give you that 15 degree point. This will give you this 15 degrees back here. So it's leading down to that 15 degree point, right behind the edge. I haven't got my calipers working. I know this is a bad day to do it, but this is beautiful. So my behind the edge is 15 degrees I've put on it. And then from then you can measure back just to see how much you've got. And it is very thin behind this edge. They all are incredibly good cutters. But even this being so thin, these two with the hollow grinds going back will keep that bevel better on the way back, if that makes sense. This is going to get fatter on the way back, which will slow down the cutting. This is going to be less faster going back because of the really good hollow grinds they put on the knives. So, behind the edge bevel, the cutting edge in this is 15 degrees, and the behind the edge bevel directly behind it should be 15. It just should be 15, or maybe a little bit more, because it's hollowed at the back. This, I would believe, this is probably below it. It's because it is so thin hollow grind on the Jack Wolf knives. The best slicer of the three, definitely this. But if you're going to go through cardboard, I think a flat grind is better for going through cardboard. But this has a saber grind up here. But it's hard to tell. The Jack Wolf knife is probably the best slicer. But all three down at that 15 degrees behind the edge, and the edge itself, what a difference it makes. So I've been really pleased with that. So what I want to know is I'll maybe this week do a D2 and take it to, I've actually got my new, well, newish This is the K-bar dozier, and this is in D2, and this has a hollow grind. And I'm just thinking D2 is a tough enough steel. These are all powdered steel, obviously. That's Magnacut and M390 and S35VN. So D2, I might take this one down to 15 degrees just to see whether it's tough enough to cope with it. I'm sure D2 should be. But I'll do that, and then next week on the Monday Masterclass, I'll just bring it back and let you see what it's like. I'm going to have to take... This is just going to turn into a big concave place here if I don't sort this out. So I'll put a little notch in there so that it makes it easier for me to hand sharpen. I'll just hand sharpen this and drop it down a few degrees. It's easy to tell because you have the bevel here, and when you're sharpening it, I know if it's widening out. So I'll just go drop it down, check it, bring it back up, check it, put a black marker here, and just check that I'm getting from the top down, and get a nice 15 degree bevel or thereabouts on this, and just see if it helps the cutting performance. But as for these, super. So I just wanted to let you know that people keep seeing people. This is a 15 degree edge, but it's behind the edge bevel is where the 15 degree starts, exactly behind there. And then if you want to check what your blade's like, you can bring your bevel, bring your calipers and just follow it back. Do you see how far back you can go with a still thin behind the edge here on the hollow grind or whatever knife you choose to flat grind? And that really does make for... That is generally a more... powdered steel that would matter more because you're sharpening back, and I think powder steel gives you that ability to keep that thinner cutting edge of 15 degree. So there you go. I hope that was interesting. It probably wasn't at all. I'll show you this one next week after I've done it. Again, most of the times I hand sharpen, but to get the first bevel on a knife, I like to do the fixed system. Now, couldn't do it on my Jack-Wolf knife, so I'd done it by hand, no problem whatsoever. The M390 seems very well heat treated on it, and so does that. I was surprised at how much that... I think that's 59 to 60 or 61, 59 to 60. It really does seem it's well hot. Heat treated, I'll have to say. So no problems there. I know a lot of people complain about it, but to be honest, in my life, in my use of the knife, absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. So we'll try this and see what this is like, and I'll show you next week. All right, that's it, finished. It's over and done. You can go back to class. Take care. Bye-bye.